Stand by to receive our transmission.
Where are you boys from in the world?
Alabama, sir.
I got a bad feeling about this.
Welcome to the Bama Geeks Podcast. We are four friends diving into our favorite pop culture topics with a dash of Southern charm.
We have the tools, we have talent. It's Miller time.
Whoa, this is heavy.
Pizza Dude's got 30 seconds.
Wait, what? Crazy? You didn't say I was crazy.
You got the wrong guy. I'm the dude, man.
You want something done, you've got to do it yourself.
Be excellent to each other. Party on, dudes!
So grab your biscuits and gravy, a glass of sweet tea, and enjoy the nerdy hospitality of Brock and Jessica Parker, Bo Bearden, and Kevin Gardner.
This is the way.
This is the way.
And welcome into the very first episode of the Bama Geeks Podcast. Thank you so much for joining us. We are happy to finally get together and be with you. My name is Brock Parker. We'll do a full introduction of ourselves for this first episode. With me, three very important people in my life. One that, I just happened to marry. She's so important to me. And then two guys who have been brothers to me for more than a decade. We're all really good friends, and I will let them tell you who they are.
I am Jessica Parker. I am the wife of Brock Parker.
Hi, I am Bo Bearden. I'm a Taurus, and I am one of the people he loves, like a brother of Brock Parker. I didn't stumble that too bad.
You're going to make me edit this a lot, aren't you?
And I'm Kevin Gardner. I'm also a Taurus, and I'm one of Brock's best buddies. And I love long walks in the woods.
Wait, the three of us, with the exception of Brock, is a Taurus? I'm a Taurus too.
Bull power.
Man.
Well, I'm a Leo.
Lame.
Well, rawr.
We get to hang out in the pasture all day. What do you do?
Well, I'm all things.
He has the high ground there.
Yes.
This is true. Everybody run.
So yeah, we if you know myself and Bo and Kevin, we used to do a podcast about being Ghostbusters in Alabama, the Alabama Ghostbusters. And that's how that's actually how all four of us met. Kevin and I met in early 2009. And we actually met each other for the first time at his house as we were organizing what was then the Birmingham Ghostbusters, which eventually became the Alabama GBs. We met at Kevin's house, and I think the next meeting at your house, Bo showed up.
Yeah, that was actually pretty awesome too, because Bo is like, "Hey, Kevin, I know you,"
Yeah.
because we used to do honor bands together back in high school, and he's like pulling out pictures and stuff, and I'm like, just kind of in shock a little bit. They're like, you ever get one of those situations where someone comes up to you and they're like, "Yeah, I know you," and you're like, "Yeah, you," and then you have to go and think about it for a little bit. It was kind of one of those situations.
Yeah, I'm terrible with names, but I'll always remember your face. I'm one of those type of people. So like I said, I know we did honor bands at least 97 and 98. So that was at the time, 10 years previously. So
yeah.
I'm surprised Bo remembers our name to this day. But Jessica came along into our lives in 2016. We all have a mutual friend, Tara, who is from Alabama, but she has lived quite a few years over in England. And she grew up in the area with Jessica, and she contacted me the summer prior to DragonCon 2016 and said, "Hey, I got this friend that is going to be going to her first convention ever. And it's going to be DragonCon." And I'm like, that's a huge convention to start off on. But she's like, "Yeah, would you mind just kind of meeting with her? And, she's from the Birmingham area, and you guys just kind of take her under your wing and make sure she stays okay at DragonCon." Like, "Yeah, sure." And so that's where we met her.
And Brock said, I'll take her under my wing. All right.
Well,
Well,
there was another life circumstance where I couldn't do that at the time.
I had it's funny because for some crazy reason, and I don't know why, but I happened to look on the ALGB Facebook page not too long ago, and there is a post from me saying, "Hey, I'm coming to Dragon Con. Can't wait to meet you guys." But yeah, I had just kind of reached that point in my life in 2016 where I had friends that were going to cons. I had friends that had been going to Dragon Con for years, and I was living vicariously through their photos and their, hearing their stories about going to the cons. And I've grown up with a geek culture, I guess you could say, all my life. I've loved the Ghostbusters since the movie came out. Always loved the movie. I grew up on Star Wars and Star Trek, and my dad has that love for sci-fi and comics and collecting. So I had been immersed in that type of environment or that culture, and I just figured at that point in my life I was going to get out and I was going to start involving myself in it. And it just looked so much fun and something I'd enjoy doing. And as much as it's a joke almost within our community at this point in time, but I did see ghost heads. And
yeah.
Yeah.
Well, honestly, Jessica, that's how it starts for all of us, really. It's like you just kind of you just kind of want to do more. And that was exactly the same way it worked for me, because I was really heavily into Star Wars, Star Wars fandom. I had a Star Wars fan group that I started and ran before I assisted Michael in starting the Birmingham Ghostbusters. And, that was something that I started back when I was in my early 20s. And that's basically how it started was, you start with that and then you start dipping your toe in the water with conventions, but you just dove straight head first into the deep end with Dragon Con.
I sure did. And I thought, I have a friend of mine, Emma, that had been going to Dragon Con for years. And one of the ones I'd hear, how much fun she had doing it. She loved being there. She looked forward to Dragon Con every weekend. So it was really, in all honesty, it was a last minute decision for me to go that year. I had called her. I don't even think she had planned to go, but I had reached out to her and says, I really want to go to Dragon Con. Are you going this year? And she says, I haven't decided yet. And I don't have a room, but if I can get in contact with a friend of mine that's going and we can stay in their room, then sure, absolutely. I'll go along with you. If you want to go this year, I'll go along with you. So, and I had no idea, was not even prepared for the grandioso that is Dragon Con. Had no clue that it was as big as it was. So yeah, it was quite a first experience for me. I was at the PKE Surge get together that Friday night, started meeting and talking and interacting with y'all that weekend on and off, and started as soon as we got home, started trying to kind of get more involved and find out, what the group was doing and where I could get involved with, and became friends with a lot of y'all. Some friendships developed into certain relationships at a specific point in time, and here we are.
Jessica, I didn't realize you felt that way about me.
Well, she told me when my previous life was over, she's like, I'm not looking for a boyfriend. And I'm like, oh yeah, we changed that.
Happily married now for 2 years.
And the
a little over 2 years
history.
Already. Wow.
Yep. So thanks to the Alabama Ghostbusters, that's how all four of us met. And we all have our love of so many nerdy things. We each have our own, special, specific, I can't even say it anymore. Specific interests. We don't all like the same things, but yet we all love many, many of the same things. So we've got a lot of interests here with everybody, and that's what this podcast is going to be about. We're just going to shoot the breeze about the things we love. And if one of us loves something and the other doesn't, well, there will be a death match and a hug at the end.
That's right.
Guys, three Tauruses versus a Leo, man. I think we can take him.
Probably.
A death match that ends with a hug might take it to a different territory, but you know.
That's
Well, just so everybody knows, Jess is a 2nd-degree black belt, even though she's only 5'3".
I do have somewhat of the upper hand, right?
Well, you've got the mean feet and the ability to easily reach shins.
Well, but Jessica, I mean, given your height, I don't think you've ever been able to say you could have the high ground, right?
Oh, this is true. I can never be the bigger person. I'm only 5'3", so.
We've seen Alabama change an awful lot over the years, as far as our state. You know, Atlanta's always had Dragon Con. It seems like, you know, forever, and there's so many conventions around the nation. But we have gone through a transitional period over the course of all of our friendships here in Alabama, where there have not been conventions and there's not been a lot of geekiness that's happened in our state. So for you guys, what are some of the things just in your lifetimes that you've been able to see take place in Alabama that has transformed this into a very fun, geeky state?
Probably one of the first ones that I really, the first sci-fi conventions that I really, that really took root here, even though it was only a 1-year convention, because of some issues and some mismanagement, was a convention that took place back in, you guys will have to help me out here with the year. I don't remember, but it was back in the early 2000s. It was called OmegaCon. We'd have to look it up. But that convention was probably one of the best examples I had ever seen of a convention coming together and actually displaying what Alabama, at least Central Alabama, could do. And when I say Central Alabama, once I actually started, because I had a pretty major part with that convention as well. Once our group, we were the Alabama Star Wars Syndicate at the time, and once our group had a presence there, one of the things I noticed was it wasn't just Birmingham that was there. It was all over the state. People coming from Mississippi. We had people from Georgia that had come in. And at that point, we just kind of all realized it's like, we could actually do this, guys. A lot of the people, I think, that really saw the possibility of what that convention could have been, that kind of took root. And we saw a lot of the subsequent conventions that came out of that I'll let you guys speak on, but the subsequent conventions that came out of that, a lot of the seed investors and stuff and the administrators for those conventions actually came from, seeing what could happen at that initial convention that I know of. So yeah, OmegaCon was probably the biggest first experience for me where I saw what fandoms could do working together and what you could actually pull off, even if the convention itself was a disaster.
Yeah, my first convention was actually in 1993 down in Dothan, Alabama. It was a itty bitty Star Trek convention, and John Delancey, Q from The Next Generation, was there. That was the first taste that I had got, and I've been hooked ever since. I've been going since '93 now to any convention that that seems pretty fun and within striking distance. So there was kind of a lull. Well, let's see. John Delancey was at that one, and then the following year, I had gotten into the Air Force, but came back home on a weekend where Walter Koenig, Chekhov from the original series, was in, of all places, New Brockton, Alabama. If you know anything about New Brockton, it is down next to Enterprise, Alabama, which is another reason why I'm kind of geeky is my Star Trek connection. I was born in Enterprise, Alabama. You don't get much more Star Trek than that.
Right.
So, so Walter Koenig, the itty bitty town of New Brockton, just on the outskirts of Enterprise. I think you can probably blink, and in that blink count the number of residents in that town.
I don't know. Maybe the residents of Romulus, Alabama, may have a bit of a quarrel with you there, getting more Star Trekky.
Man, the good guys. You got to go with the good guys. The Federation. Come on, man. But so Walter Koenig was there. John Delancey was there the year before. I'd come home from the Air Force to go meet Walter. And then I got into some conventions out in Texas and all where I was stationed. But for Alabama, those were my first two conventions back in the early to mid 90s. And then, yeah, we've exploded since then. Bo, how about you with your experiences in the state?
For me, I want to say it wasn't Omega Con, but it was the next year. I believe I don't know if MagicCon was before or after I went to Dragon Con for the first time, but I would say within the state, that was my first in-state convention. That was early 2000.
You went to a MagicCon. A MagicCon was 2010.
Okay, yeah.
And you went to Dragon Con for one day in 2010.
Yes. Oh my God, that is one of the longest days of my life. like I got up that morning, or no, I think I drove over that Friday night. I worked nights at the time, so yeah, I drove over that Friday night, and then
you drove over after you got off work, which was early morning hours.
Yeah. And then I got up that Sunday morning, and that was back when the line was a cluster, and I got up at 6 a.m. and we did all that long day and then drove home that night. But that's, in general for Alabama though. Yeah. I say MagicCon was my first in-state convention, and which is really impressive. Like I said, at the time when I started getting into it, it was still more things were beginning, conventions were still very sparse in Alabama, especially in the sci-fi nature. We have plenty of outdoors enthusiasts in Alabama, and they have all kinds of stuff for them. And hey,
and car
that's
shows.
Cool. Exactly. And that's what they enjoy. Hey, that makes them happy. But, for us nerds who wasn't the outdoors enthusiast type, we came, now we started, started to chip away and go from there. But MagicCon was first kind of convention I did with us. And of course I did with the group. And let's see, seeing from that, I'm trying to think.
PixelCon.
Yes, PixelCon. That was technically our first outing. That is right. That is our first official outing, and going from there. And
that was in Tuscaloosa.
Yeah, that was at the university, wasn't it?
Yes.
Yeah.
And then, so we've kind of ventured out. At first I thought it would be contained to the major area of the Central Alabama, like Birmingham. But then we started attending stuff in Huntsville and Montgomery and kind of going from there. So that's been like my exposure to it. I'm really looking forward to more stuff happening again here soon.
Yep. And we'll talk in just a bit, I guess, about conventions and stuff upcoming. But your dad, Jess, and brother went to a few things here in the state before you got involved at Dragon Con a few years ago.
Yeah. I was kind of exposed to the Star Trek fandom through friends and their parents that had involvement in it. And I remember that there was there would be like little Star Trek groups that would get together, and sometimes I would be around that. There was little fantasy cons, that just these little small fantasy type cons that were around the area, and I would tag along to that. Now, ask me their names, I couldn't tell you their names, but I'd been, occasionally going to that off and on and seeing those fandoms, those Star Trek fandoms, the Star Wars fandoms. Like I said, I had a friend of mine's, the McLeans. They were really heavy into the Star Trek fandom, the costuming and things like that. And I was really close with that family growing up. So that was some exposure to that world that I had kind of grew up around. And like he said, my dad is a sci-fi and comic enthusiast. So there was that exposure to me growing up. So I always had that love and appreciation for things like that.
The conventions have certainly have grown here in Alabama. And like I said, we'll hop on that in just a moment. But Alabama's got a rich history with science, especially in the Huntsville area. We've got NASA, we've got the Marshall Center up in Huntsville, and the U.S. Space and Rocket Center. So that area is prime geek heaven for science fiction people and, science related people.
Yeah, just nerds in general. Of course, Huntsville is full of nerds. It's got all the different types of industry there, like aerospace industry. Again, don't get triggered if you're listening from Huntsville. You're most likely, if you're in Huntsville and you have a job, you're a nerd.
We know a bunch of cosplaying rocket engineers.
Yeah.
Right, man.
We know rocket scientists from Huntsville. who cosplay. Yeah.
It's not to trigger you. It's a compliment.
Mm-hmm.
Exactly.
Totally.
Hey, I got nothing but love for my Huntsville people. Okay. Love you guys.
And we have plenty of love for all over the state. You know, Alabama, for better or for worse, has a reputation of yeehaw and everything
Boy, howdy.
else. But yeah, but we've got a lot of science in the state, and we've got a lot of geeks, got a lot of people who love this stuff. You know, golly, almost all of us have some sort of gray hair going on. You know, we were into this stuff before it was openly cool.
Mm-hmm.
You know, and we know a lot of people around the state who are the same way. So Alabama has a very geeky side, and you know, like I said, with the explosion of conventions and everything around the state, it continues to grow. Jumping back to the mid '90s, like I said, I was in the Air Force stationed out in Texas, and I came home the 30th anniversary weekend of Star Trek. I came back to Huntsville where they had the 30th anniversary convention there at the Von Braun Center, and that's where I got to meet all the original series cast. I got to eat dinner right across from Jimmy Doohan, Scotty, and all. Fantastic time there. So it's only grown since then.
One of the interesting things is, you know, when we were kids, you know, like Brock mentioned earlier, a lot of us were, you know, pretty much everybody here's got some gray hair. So, you know, we're approaching 40, if not over. So when we were kids, it was very popular not to hate on geeks, to hate on nerds. And now, with the way society is now, it's kind of the opposite. So we embrace sci-fi, we embrace comics. It's some of the biggest movie franchises and some of the biggest focuses in culture right now. So I believe in our lifetime, it's kind of made it where it's a little more acceptable and normal for people to show their geeky side in Alabama. So, you know, yeah, like Brock said earlier, we do still have, you know, Alabama's rooted a lot, especially Birmingham is rooted a lot in the civil rights and things like that. That, you know, of course, you know, that's a moniker or something that that Birmingham is always going to have. But at the same time, we're starting to see it become more than that. You know, we're starting to see Birmingham become more than that. We're starting to see even Montgomery, of all places, you know, the seat of our state government, is becoming a lot more geeky and a lot more nerdy over time. Not quite as fast as some of the other cities, but it's interesting to see. What was it last year, Brock? Well, not last year, but it was right before COVID. We had one of the first sci-fi conventions in Montgomery. I forget what the name of that one was. It was at the Shriner Center.
River Region Comic Con?
Is that what it was?
Yeah, that sounds close.
So, I mean, yeah, all over the state, you know, this geekiness is popping up, and it's absolutely glorious.
I would say it's an interesting cultural change. Not just, just everywhere here. It helps here. Like 30, 40 years ago, you know, you had your stuff you liked as a kid, but then as you got older, you know, you had to grow up and, you know, you go to work and blah, blah, blah. Well, now people have learned how to have a healthy balance. Like, you know, you can still like that thing you liked when you were 10, when you're now in your 40s, you know, and 30s and 40s and now and so on. It's mostly, you know, it's okay to like that as an adult, you know. I mean, you still do your adult things, but still you need to have your fun stuff that doesn't make you where you're not so fun adult stuff. It helps to keep your sanity and have a good time, you know.
Your fandoms are your release. It's your little bit of as like I said, as we reach our 40s and we all have our jobs and our responsibilities and our kids and things like that are important. But to have just that moment where you can kind of break away from the reality for a little bit and enjoy something and just have something to enjoy. It's kind of funny because what was it about, you know, after the whole COVID thing came out and we started learning the term social distancing. I think I'd seen somebody had posted something on Facebook. It was like, back in my day, social distancing meant telling someone you were a Star Trek fan or something to that effect. But it's like Bo said, you know, you grow up and you're a kid and you have these things that you love, but then you reach kind of like a teenager and you kind of, or at least maybe how it was for us, it's like, well, you know, I love these things, but I don't want everybody to know that I love these things. This is my little private love. This is my private, you know, infatuation, or it's just kind of something you kept to yourself.
Yeah, the generation before us, it was just like, it was like we were saying earlier, it was like, once you get a certain age, you're expected to get a job, and then you're expected to go to work. And we all still do those things. It's just a matter of saying, why do you need to let go of what you enjoyed in your teens, 20s, 30s? That's still okay. It's still okay if you're okay with it. It's still okay to dress up as your favorite movie or comic characters and go to conventions and have fun and interact and make kids smile.
Exactly.
You know?
Life's too short to sit here and toil away. Yeah, we do work, we do earn our paychecks, but man, we got to have our fun, and life's too short not to have that release of fun. And especially as all of us children of the 80s, I mean, my gosh, we were bombarded with Saturday morning cartoons and marketing toys and things of that nature. And that's what we grew up in, is especially a majority of us right now are on this podcast, Gen X.
Which is so weird. You got to think the people that were originally, pushing all this stuff, they were just intending, for the kids to buy that stuff. Never would they have thought, here we are. Hey, they're renewing licensing properties and remaking 20 to 30-year-old toys. And hey, guess what? We're buying them.
Oh, Masters of the Universe origin figures are all over my house right now. I love it.
Well, it's just, to me, it boils down to adulting is hard. And that might be a cliche term, but adulting is hard. So to have this release and this escape, it's healthy. You need that. And one of my favorite quotes, and I have it on my Facebook page, is from Walt Disney, where it says that growing old is mandatory, but growing up is optional.
Very true.
You can be having this kid at heart mentality. I was kind of raised up on that. My dad is a good example of that. He is a man that provides for his family and makes a living. But he loves, his sci-fi. He loves his comics. He loves collecting toys. And
I cannot tell you how many Hot Wheels this man has. Oh, man, it's wondertrek.
Jessica, he loves being a geek.
My dad had, when I was growing up, raising him as a teenager, in the house, he had Star Trek Next Generation figures pinned on the wall. He bought the play set. He bought the Romulan War. He bought the ship. He bought all the toys that went along with the Next Gen line back then. So I grew up exposed to someone who had a love for these things and appreciation for these things and was not afraid to go out and buy. He was, 30, 40-year-old man, and he was going out and buying those toys.
Sounds like us now.
Pioneers, man.
Exactly like us.
So I was going to say, all this is leading me to ask you guys, even though we know what each other are into, this is the introductory episode of the Bama Geeks podcast. Let's tell everybody what gets us going, what gets us motivated to stay geeky, and what things do we hold on to from our childhood? What new things have we embraced? What are your fandoms that just cranks that motor?
So far as what kind of gets me going, it's still pretty much my fandom is always it probably will always be rooted in Star Wars. Star Wars is a huge thing for me. I met all of these guys as a result of my involvement with Ghostbusters. I absolutely love Ghostbusters. It's a fantastic movie, but Star Wars is where it started. My mother was kind enough to take me as an infant, less than a year old, to a movie theater to see Empire Strikes Back. I was born in 1980. Saw Empire Strikes Back. It stuck from then on out. She said that I was absolutely transfixed with the screen, was not screaming. I was a very quiet baby, oddly enough. So I wasn't one of those babies that made, people go, why do they bring babies to the theater? So she said I was transfixed the entire time. And she said she's always thought from that point on was when my love of Star Wars started. But I really didn't get into actual fandom type Star Wars until I was in my early 20s. And oddly enough, this is going to sound absolutely pathetic, but I will show my belly here and say I started a Star Wars fan group to find a girlfriend. I am absolutely, I will tell anybody that.
You don't know if you don't try.
Yeah, exactly.
So, I knew you started that group. I did not know that was the reason.
Yeah, that was
looking for that special somebody.
I was. I was okay successful. I wasn't like the picture of awesomeness back then. I guess I'm still not, but I wasn't like, I wasn't a good bachelor back then. I was just trying to figure things out. But, I started this group. I've always had a reasonable talent for starting and fostering groups and pouring myself into it. And I started this group, and from that bore me, doing my first Dark Jedi costume, and then going all the way up to doing Boba Fett and Tusken Raiders, and that since then branched out to another shell type group called Alabama Fandom, where we did what was it? Pirates. We have
Pirates of the Cahaba.
Yeah, Pirates of the Cahaba. We had Dixie Hallows, which was our Harry Potter group, and of course the Alabama Ghostbusters. It was all part under the umbrella of Alabama Fandom at one point, and that was one heck of a time. And I think a good bit of us had some sort of involvement in all of that. I know I did, because I was kind of fostered and seeded all those groups to begin with. But what keeps me going on a day-to-day basis is knowing that I have friends and I have the structure. It's just the same as anybody else will say. I've got my friends I can go and hang out with and have a beer. Well, I've got my friends I can hang out, get online with, talk about fandom, talk about the geek stuff, and reinforces the fact that none of us are alone, and that we feel a sense of community, whether you're into Star Wars, whether you're into Ghostbusters. That's what keeps me going. That's my driver. And of course, when all of this pandemic stuff clears up, being able to get back in costume after I drop about 20 pounds, being able to get back in costume, dropping my pandemic weight, get back in costume and actually get back out there and, make kids smile, make adults smile, make everybody happy.
The two big things for me growing up is always, of course, Ghostbusters, obviously, and of course, Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. Something about groups of 4 in the 80s. Some reason it controlled me,
And now there's 4 of us on this podcast.
Exactly.
Here we go. You're
like so comfortable.
Yes, it's 4. It's the 4 is the magic number, really. But no, like I said, with Ghostbusters, I would say my big things, of course, Ghostbusters, Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, which I will always love, and even if some iterations are better than the others, I will always love Turtles. And then something I've really embraced over the last couple of years has been, of course, I've always played games. I'm a big gamer. I've been playing games since the Atari and original NES, and now I've dived more into it recently. The last couple of years, been doing a lot of retro gaming, collecting, and I've met some people through Twitter and other places have been doing it, and that's kind of what I've been doing. Of course, like I said, I'll shameless plug my Twitch. I've been playing Twitch, which is fun. Like, we'll play stuff, but that's mostly like it's my original intention was to me do something that it's turned into me and my now at the time of this 6-year-old son playing video games, and him saying all kinds of weird stuff just to get me laughing and to make everybody else laugh.
Doggo gamer.
Yes, doggo gamer.
Oh, and it works too.
Oh yeah,
his son is hilarious.
He's very funny.
Yeah, like I said, it's supposed to be my Twitch channel, but he's stolen the show from me, but I'm, okay with it. But yeah, that's Ghostbusting is still my primary thing. I still think will always be my primary fandom. Like I said, Ghostbusters is, I liked it, loved the movie, had all the toys growing up as a kid. And like Jessica said, as we got older and got into the teenage years, it kind of got pushed on the back burner because I was more worried about other things. Like I said, meeting a girl and all that good fun stuff. But then, and then my 20s, and then, things kind of got more, I guess, I got all the craziness out of my way of the life, and then I kind of came back to square one and starting to more embrace that stuff that I loved as a kid and didn't really go over the limit with it. And then I decided to go over the limit with it with a costume, build a proton pack, and find very like-minded folks like these great people I'm talking with here to be even more over the limit with. But on that now, like I said, my geeky fandom is try to do that and go broke buying old games and toys now. So
and we're eventually going to launch a video version where you can actually see us chatting. And when you see Bo's background, Kevin has a bunch of Star Wars in his background, including a full-size mannequin with Boba Fett armor. And Jessica and I have to set up our space. I'll just put it that way. But Bo Bo's got all kinds of retro video games on the shelves. He's got Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtle figures. I see real Ghostbusters figures back there. Yeah, so we definitely live that life.
For sure.
Well, Jess,
Okay.
what floats your boat?
I'm the type of person where if you don't ever ask me to tell you what my favorite movie is, or my favorite song, or my favorite band, I have so many, I can tell you the movies, but for me to rank this stuff, don't even go there with me because it's too vast for me to narrow down. So, with that being said, we've got Disney. I am more Marvel than I am DC. I like DC, but I love Marvel more. Star Wars, Star Trek, Ghostbusters, Back to the Future, TV shows, Walking Dead, The Office, Parks and Rec, Schitt's Creek. I also have a love for old school WWF wrestling.
You're going to hear a lot of wrestling on this podcast between Bo and Jess. Trust me.
To really sum this up the best way, I have a massive love for 80s pop culture. That's really primarily what my radio stays on. I hardly know anything that's current as far as music goes because I stay so much in the past with my music. And for fun, I also want to ask you guys the question, is Buc-ee's a fandom for me? Because I feel like it kind of is now at this point in my life.
Turned into it.
Yeah.
Or no,
it is, and it is now.
Well, I mean,
hey, our bank account reflects it. Trust me, it's a fandom.
Yeah, I mean, if you've ever been to Buc-ee's, it kind of demands a fandom. I mean, when you can go and you can get 90 to 100 different varieties of beef jerky, that's absolutely amazing.
Hey, but they were actually out of the beef jerky that we have gotten the last couple of times.
They broke my heart.
We,
we've been buying teriyaki beef jerky, and it's been great. It was nowhere to be found today. All the teriyaki shelves were empty.
Your word of mouth has been working.
I like, Bo, what was that you were telling me earlier when we were talking about Buc-ee's today?
I'm trying to reword it correctly, but I was going to say Buc-ee's is essentially if Walmart was a gas convenience store, but they had standards.
That's it. That's it. That's it.
No disrespect to our Walmart workers, but we know you guys work hard, but you know how it is.
Yes.
Hey, I worked Walmart for 6 years. I know that, you can become a soulless drone there, so it's okay.
Oh yeah. Well, I mean, hey, I understand it's, everybody works hard. Everybody has a fun day. So yeah.
Yeah, but it's like I said, gosh, I'm sorry if anybody works for Walmart, and I apologize, but Walmart is one of those places that you have to go to. You don't want to go there most of the time, but you have to go there because it's your all-in-one. I can get just about almost everything I need at this place. So.
Don't worry, Jessica. We'll never have Walmart as a sponsor, so it'll be fun.
Well,
oh darn.
And if you're a modern day toy collector, especially during the pandemic and everything, and you've got a line of toys that you want that's a Walmart exclusive, you learn to hate Walmart really quickly.
Yeah.
Really.
Maybe just particular our Walmarts, because I see all these tweets and pictures of other states, and everybody's got their nice, lovingly display of 8 million things of the 1990s Ninja Turtles I am currently trying to get.
We have struck a nerve now with the turtles, situation.
we went to 4 Walmarts in our area yesterday trying to find Bo these NECA turtle figures, these 2-packs, because he missed out on them the first time, and we are trying desperately to help this man, and they were nowhere to be found.
No.
And everybody is tweeting at NECA with these pictures like, oh, look, we've got them all over these end caps and everything else. And the Birmingham, Alabama Walmart stores, I don't know if it's a distribution issue or just... Okay, we're not touching on this. I haven't gotten to my fandoms yet. Go ahead.
Okay. Yeah, I think
this will go the rest of the podcast.
Yeah, we'll
soapbox can go back over here.
Let's put blinders on these horses and get it back in the direction we were headed in.
Let's kind of corral.
That's my fault. I'm sorry.
That's okay.
So close to a tangent.
I know what I did.
So close to a tangent.
Let's corral Bo's nerd rage a little bit.
Believe me, that topic will be prevalent in future episodes. And
I'll say one more thing before we move on to Brock's fandom. This is the point that Brock and I have reached in our life with the amount of Walmarts that we tend to visit. We have this conversation. You know what? this was a nicer Walmart than such and such, or this Walmart was more terrible than the other. So we're in this compare and contrast situation because we get to venture to all these Walmarts in our toy hunts.
Walmart madness.
Yes, exactly. So
I
anyway,
wonder what the socioeconomic situation is in this area, because their Walmart kind of sucks.
Yeah,
dude. Let me tell you, we have gone to several Walmarts recently, and I've said, okay, this isn't an area I wouldn't mind living in, based off that Walmart.
Kevin, the one in Chelsea gets pretty good points too. We've said that's a nice Walmart.
I mean, I used to live in Chelsea, and that Walmart is absolutely phenomenal. I've been told that if you're a single guy and you have an animal or something like that, it's like that's the place you go to find single guys. It's like it's only single guys that shop there. And I didn't know it at the time when I lived there, and I was a single guy. So apparently I was shopping at the right place. But since then, I've moved a little bit further down, and the Walmart that I have that's closer here, let's just say I still drive to Chelsea for my Walmart. Yeah.
Well, sorry about the whole Walmart tangent.
Yeah, this is our. This covers the Walmart fandom of all of them.
We have a lot of fandoms. Walmart's and iffy.
I can just imagine our listeners going, "Yeah, Walmart sucks." Dang, these guys really don't like Walmart. Wow.
Oh, like I said, as a Gen X toy collector right now, you learn to hate Walmart pretty quickly.
We've gone from Bama Geeks to Bama Grief.
Yeah.
You know what really grinds my gears?
Oh, man.
Okay. Hey, my sweetheart needs to discuss his fandoms now. Hey, babe, what are your fandoms?
Hey, Brock, don't try not to say Walmart at all, okay?
Okay. All right. Namaste, Mart. All right. Here we go. Well, for me, back in the late 70s, my mom and dad are as country can get. But mom and dad grew up in the country, miles away from the closest town. So it was kind of, we still would drive a few miles over to the next town, and they would take me, to see, Star Trek II, The Wrath of Khan, and they took me to see Star Wars back in the late 70s, early 80s. And they really weren't that much into it. And I don't know if it's just because they had me as a kid that they humored that, but they would take me to see these movies, E.T. and everything. And so that really is what started me off was Star Trek. Star Trek is my very first love in life. And Batman, the old Batman 66 series, and cartoons with Scooby-Doo and all that. That was my second love. So Batman and Star Trek is where my fandom began. And then, of course, Star Wars was right there after. Like we said, being 80s kids, He-Man, Transformers. I even threw some GoBots in there. The knockoff Transformers. I loved all that. Growing up, like Bo said, with retro video games. Those are certainly things that I love. Probably two of the biggest things to come out of the 80s, probably the three biggest things to come out of the 80s, naturally Back to the Future, Batman 89 with Michael Keaton, Jack Nicholson. Then a little movie also in 1989. Of course, Ghostbusters. Can't forget Ghostbusters. My bad. Shame on me.
How dare you?
That's taken up so much of my adult life. Ghostbusters for sure. Ghostbusters is way up there. But a little movie back in 1989 is what grabs my heart probably more than a lot of these things. And I'm okay to say that I'm a 44-year-old man who has an intense love for The Little Mermaid.
Darn, I was going to say you were going to say UHF.
Hey, man.
I was
not a bad call.
I was going to say Uncle Buck, but
but yeah, Little Mermaid with me is one of my If you know me, you know this story. If you're just getting to know us, Little Mermaid, you will hear me talk about from time to time and wonder, like I said, why this mid-40s man's talking about a Disney movie like that. But in the early 90s, I was in Drum and Bugle Corps Southwind Drum and Bugle Corps. We were out of Montgomery, Alabama. We toured around the nation, competing in Drum Corps International. A lot of corps from around the world competed. Well, that year we won a world championship in our class. You have 3 classes that competed. We were in the middle class, and we won the world championship. Went undefeated with the show, music shows. Like, it's a professional marching band. If you want to know what drum corps is, we did the music from The Little Mermaid. So I've got a world championship ring and medals and great memories. And so from doing that music, so Ariel and The Little Mermaid hold a very special place in my heart. The following year, we did Robin Hood, the music from that movie, and that has just an equally special place in my heart because we won the world championship in '91 with Little Mermaid, and we won it in '92 with Robin Hood, Prince of Thieves. So those are my big ones. I kind of died off of Star Wars a little bit in recent years, but ever since they started The Mandalorian, yeah, I'm right back in it. As I'm sure most people are. What a sick show. So those are, and of course I have a lot of other interests, but yeah, primarily, I love the Marvel movies. Never been a big Marvel comics fan. I've been more of a DC comics fan as far as comic books and things of that nature. So I relate better to the DC comic characters, but love all the Marvel stuff that's happened, of course, over recent years. But yeah, if I have to put my money down on what's going to get me excited to collect or get me excited to talk about, it's going to be Batman, Star Trek, Little Mermaid, Ghostbusters. I think those 4 would do it.
When we talk about the things that we like, it's going back to me, but breaking it down, as far as Disney, and those of you that know me, it's Frozen is my first and foremost. It's my love. I'll buy anything from a box of Cheez-Its with the characters on it to I've got a Kleenex box. I found a huge Easter basket bucket for $1, but it had Frozen on it, so I bought it.
Oh man, Jessica, could you imagine if one day they do another Frozen movie and then Buc-ee's actually does like the promotions and stuff and shit? You'll be in heaven.
Man, I'm telling you.
Oh my gosh.
It doesn't get any better than that now, does it?
Do you want to go to Buc-ee's?
Come on, let's go and eat.
Little cartoon beaver, man, I tell you.
And Jessica and I are actually Anna and Kristoff cosplayers.
Yeah.
Is that a good segue into our costuming interests?
Yeah.
Sure. Yeah, we can
Look
segue.
See how this works?
Ooh.
Yeah.
It's called a segue.
Well, why don't you guys expand on that a little bit? On your cosplays, your group cosplay.
Well, of course, with all 4 of us, Ghostbusters is right there. That's how we all met each other, as we said, and that's what we do. Outside of that, like Jess said, we do Frozen, we do Anna and Kristoff. When we met Jodie Benson, the voice of Ariel from The Little Mermaid, a couple of years ago at Fanboy in Knoxville, that was my birthday present from Jess that year, was to be able to meet Jodie for the first time.
Yep.
And we had built the costume for Dragon Con, but she wore it up there. We made her an Ariel Ghostbuster proton pack that's purple, green, gold, with fish scales on the cyclotron area and everything else.
Seashells and
seashells we'll try to post pictures on the Bama Geeks Facebook page, and we'll make sure we give you guys all the socials for that stuff in just a bit. But yeah, we made her an Ariel. We have a Back to the Future couples cosplay that we're going to be doing at some point in the future.
Or in the past.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah, so we got several things that we're going to do whenever conventions come back around, which it looks like they're starting to. So that's primarily our costuming interest. Of course, thanks to Bo, got me into Mass Effect, the video game series, and so which is about to be remastered and released here in about a month and a half.
Yes.
Yeah, we're both excited for that. Neither Bo nor I will see anybody in the public for quite a while when the remastered trilogy comes out.
Because my backlog of games was not long enough already. So
yeah, no kidding. So, but yeah, back in 2000. 2014. I spent from 2013 to 2014 in between Dragon Cons making Commander Shepard armor. And I got Bill Duran, who search out Punished Props Academy. Bill is a fantastic builder, maker, and also I met him through the Mass Effect community as well. And he built the M98 Widow sniper rifle for me. I commissioned him for that, so I've got a big, nice Mass Effect sniper rifle to go along with that. So that's pretty much the costuming interest that I've had. I thought about trying to do more, getting ready for the next convention during the pandemic, but yeah, that's just not happened. So I'll get back into it when all this is over, and I have a proper workshop hopefully here in the next few months.
As Brock said, of course, me and him, we do the Anna and Kristoff. I have the Anna coronation dress outfit, so that's been my primary Anna costume. Of course, I hope that once we get back and the conventions come back full swing, and as Kevin did say that, the pandemic is, as much as I hate to bring up this topic, the pandemic has added a few pounds in the last year, so Jessica's got to kind of get some motivated and get back to do some where she wants to get into some costumes. But anyway, we're going to get off that tangent.
You still look good and you're still tiny. It's okay.
Thank you, honey. I have the crossover Ariel with the Ghostbusters costume. The next crossover costume that I would like to put together is where I have seen Anna mashed with the Mandalorian. There's been several cosplayers out there in the world that are doing these, that are meshing the Disney princesses with the Mandalorian look. I really like that. So that is a costuming goal of mine, along with, there's so many different costumes that came out of the Frozen 2 movie. I just kind of maybe need to narrow down which one I want to do, which I'm probably targeting the traveling Anna first, because I feel that it will be the most comfortable and more easily to maneuver in costumes. The coronation dress is beautiful, but it does have its maneuvering disabilities to it at times, as well as when I'm toting around the Ariel Ghostbuster Proton Pack, it has the large trident at the end, which people don't pay attention to and they bump into. So I end up holding it most of the time because I don't want nobody to break my precious little Proton Pack there.
We can give you stories, stories upon stories of being in parades and con crowds with the Proton ones, and just
it's
how
not limited to Trident themed Proton packs.
Seriously, one of my costumes over here is a Tusken Raider. I have a gaffy stick that legitimately has solid steel ends to it, and you're walking around in the Tusken Raider. Essentially, if you were to take toilet paper tubes and like hold them up to your eyes and look out, that's essentially what you see. So you're carrying a weapon that could literally kill somebody, and you're trying to keep
with limited sight.
Yeah.
I've also got, of course, my Ghostbusters, my normal Ghostbusters costume, and hopefully at some point in time, I will have a Proton Pack to go along with that. The only other thing that we've tossed around ideas, and I talked to Brock about this even before WandaVision became what it was, but I'd said if I ever, had a costume, a Marvel female, I gravitated more towards Wanda Maximoff. And I was looking at that point more at the Civil War costume for Wanda. Now, Miss Maximoff has taken off in a big way, and I don't want to seem like I just jumped on the Wanda Maximoff Scarlet Witch bandwagon. This has actually been a thought of mine for a couple of years now, but now I really love those costumes that came out of that series.
If you were to say, I literally just wanted to start doing it right now because of the costume that she had in that last episode, I think that would be okay as well, because that costume was phenomenal. Spoilers if anyone hasn't seen WandaVision by now, but her actual Scarlet Witch costume is out of this world.
It is gorgeous. It is beautiful. And,
I love my wife, but man, I love me some Scarlet Witch.
Oh my gosh.
You put those two together, I'm a happy guy.
Well, Bo, do you want to hit on what you're doing with your costumes?
Well, mainly with me, it's always been Ghostbuster. Of course, I've done like a darker suit, not an actual authentic charcoal gray, but I've got the GB2 black suit. I've got a couple of the khaki suits. I've always had a bunch of costume wishes, but I'm always terrible at procrastinations, which one of these days I'm going to get better at. But I back before I started growing my beard and had the chin stash. The chin stash, as I like to call it. I was tempted to do the Zod armor from Man of Steel, which I still may one day because I have a boatload pile of Eva foam to build armor out with. Eventually, I would like to do that still one day.
We tried for so long to get you to do that because this guy was Michael Shannon right up and down.
Very much.
And I still may try to do it. I mean, it had the perfect mix of the chin stash, and falls in with my gaming. My other costumes I still want to do one day is, like I said, I still would like to do some Mass Effect armor. Me and Brock talked about combining Mass Effect and Ghostbusters to be Geth Busters. There's a race of alien robots in Mass Effect, which you could use the play on words instead of Ghostbusters, Geth Busters.
Shipper Commander.
Yep. But though probably my big video game armor I would love to do. I'm a big fan of the Gears of War series. That's kind of been of the modern era. That's probably my favorite series. It's come out in the last came out in 2008, so 13, 14 years, I guess. I can't math right now, but that's been one of the armors I would love to do that wise. But I'd like to Ghostbusters. My wife and we did a couple's costume at Dragon Con 2011 of characters from the Left 4 Dead game. Mm-hmm. She was Zoe, and I was a nice biker guy who has the lovely name of Francis. So,
hey, I did see you though. You did branch out a little bit. When you're at Dragon Con,
yes.
You did Kevin Owens.
Yes, Kevin Owens from current WWE superstar. Yes, he's a bearded. I'd say he's a huskier guy that was more my build, which is fun. Which I'm very tempted. I'm enjoying Bray Wyatt's character currently is either his his Mr. Rogers persona type or maybe the Fiend. Maybe one day. I don't know. I need more wrestling stuff, but it's maybe if I slim down some more, maybe I can be my dream of being Macho Man Randy Savage one day.
Pandemic.
Hey, there was talk or there was consideration that you could pull off a young Jerry Lawler.
That is true. There is some pictures of Jerry Lawler in his younger days. I'm like, you know what? That is true. I need to, and I want to say he has that shirt. That's what it was. Geek Nerd Busters or something.
Wimp Busters.
Wimp Busters. That's
Wimp Busters. Yeah.
And everyone listening, Brock has apparently got a list of images he's going to have to put up now, so that we can get some reference on these things that we're mentioning.
But like a lot of my costume aspects, what happened with me is in this time frame over the last 5 or 6 years, I became a father, and a lot of those things, that's the good thing about I still embrace the stuff from my childhood, but you know what? I've got my son, and that's been my big primary thing. But thankfully now he's progressed where he's now, or he likes to spend time with dad, but then he does his own thing. And school responsibility. So now dad has time to kind of do things again. So maybe I can finally get that procrastination list taken care of. But that's
maybe you'll start tomorrow on that.
Well, I got to work tomorrow, but maybe Wednesday or
okay. I'll get to it eventually.
Yeah, I'll get to it eventually. I think it's not a stretch to say I've probably been doing this semi in the public longer than all three of you. I think I started. I had my first costume that I did that I had in public was in 2002. I think. Yeah, it would have been 2001, 2002, and it was a dark Jedi that was modeled after Anakin Skywalker because big Star Wars fan. And then it just went from there. Actually, of all the fandoms that I mentioned that previously, you can basically pick all the major characters out of there. I've pretty much done them all. I have done more different characters of all these different fandoms. So probably the one that I've done, oddly enough, the one that I've done the least with is actually the one that I know these people from, and that is Ghostbusters. Although I'm working on changing that eventually. But more than anything, it's I don't even remember all the costumes I have. I've got Harry Potter professional Quidditch costume. I've got Aperture Labs scientist with a portal gun. That's a video game. It's called Portal. And I've got my Boba Fett armor that I mentioned earlier, and then Tusken Raider, Jedi. I have a pirate. I got a full-on pirate costume. I've kind of been all over the place and dabbling in all the different kinds of fandoms. and it has been a ride. It has been absolutely fantastic.
I think one of the last things I remember seeing you in, you did the Brightburn, and
yes.
Then one year you did the Lucha Libre Boba Fett.
I actually have a luchador version of Boba Fett called El Boba.
Yeah.
Boba.
Yeah, those were good.
Yeah, he brought the Brightburn costume to the last Magic City Con that we had.
Yeah.
Golly, it was 2 years ago now.
Mm-hmm.
And thankfully, the tickets just went on sale for that here in Birmingham, Magic City Con. That's one of our favorite conventions. We've been with them since the beginning, and the tickets and hotels just went on sale for that. Man, I can't believe cons are about to start back up. I'm so happy.
It was actually really cool because this past year was the first year I just recently moved into my current house, and I went full out. I had my house has a triple window in the front of it, and we had a projector running where skeletons were running across. And I did this like a month leading up to Halloween because Halloween is my favorite holiday. So everyone knew you came to Kevin's house if you want to get candy, because this dude obviously is going to have the candy. So here you picture me. I've got like a nice long driveway, and then a nice long sidewalk that you have to walk across. And this guy's sitting on his porch in front of all these skeletons dancing behind him in Brightburn costume. I'm wearing my Brightburn mask and my everything, and I've got the contact lens, so my eyes are like they're glowing. And kids are coming up, and it's like they're legitimately scared to get candy from me. And it was like the greatest feeling in the world. And it kind of gave me just a little bit of that fix that we weren't able to get last year because we weren't able to go to any conventions. Mm-hmm. It was amazing.
I'm so happy that convention seemed to be turning the corner. I know San Diego Comic-Con is not happening. MomoCon was pushed back until December, or at least a version of it back until December. Mm-hmm. Magic City Con here in Birmingham is going to hit in June, right?
Yeah. Usually Father's Day weekend.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. And then Pensacon. When
is Pensacon?
They were going to do it down at Pensacola. I think it's still on. I don't remember if it's happened yet or not.
I think it's supposed to be.
It was usually in February. Usually it was traditionally in February.
It's going to be May 21st through 23rd this year.
Okay.
Yeah. All right. And then, of course, in April, Huntsville Comic. Boy, I'm going to butcher this, and apologies to my friends in Huntsville. Huntsville Comic Expo. Something. We've got a friend who is an agent for a lot of celebrities, a lot of convention guests. He's going to be up there, so we're going to go see him one of those days in April.
Huntsville Comic and Pop Culture Expo.
Yeah.
So that we don't get hate mail. That's the official name.
Some stuff we can edit and make sound good, like we know what we're talking about, right? No,
you can like do like the scratch where it's like. And what Brock really meant was Huntsville Comic and Pop Culture Expo.
That's right. We just, mostly it was just like, we know it's a con. We know it's going to be in this city. We know it's going to be this date. We'll figure out everything else later. But I think that's the first one that me and Brock are going to go to this year. And we'll probably be up on probably going up that Saturday.
We're going to. So if you guys want to ride up with us.
That is a work weekend for me, but I'm gonna see what magic I can work. Unfortunately, that's my luck. I work every other weekend, and every cool, fun event I want to go to is my work weekend. Hooray!
Yay, work!
Boo. Everybody's going, yay! I'm going to go boo.
Well, it's a really enthusiastic yay.
Yeah, I would say it's kind of like yay, as in yay, I like my employment, but dang, I hate to be there.
Yeah,
it's the Taurus and Leo thing. I mean, we're into sarcasm. You're just a lot more blunt about it.
And Alabama.
Boy, has that gotten
Comic-Con,
me in trouble over the years.
And Alabama Comic-Con announced they're going to October 9th and 10th, I believe. Fanboy
Expo in Knoxville is also going to be happening in October. I hope that they don't overlap. Because the year we went to go see Jody at Fanboy in Knoxville was July of 2019. That weekend was Fanboy, was Atlanta Comic Con, was Alabama Comic Con. What was the fourth one that we wanted to go to? There were 4 conventions that one weekend.
I know it was loaded up, and we were locked into Fanboy because we had there was Jody, and we had the tickets and all of that. So
I wasn't going to miss Jody. Jody was my number one. Jody was my all-time number one bucket list. But I wanted to meet from Mass Effect, Liara, Allie Hills.
Allie Hills, yes.
Yeah. Yeah, she was going to be at Atlanta Comic Con, and I had Mass Effect, Liara, yeah. That's my go-to in-game romance. I love Liara.
Yeah.
But I was going to meet her, but Bo thankfully went because the 4 original voice actors for the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles was there. So Bo went to Atlanta Comic Con, got to do the Turtles meet and greet with those guys. He picked me up a autograph photo of Allie.
Yeah, that was a fun Saturday morning. On top of the 4 Turtles being there, also Kevin Conroy was there. So that was another
That's right.
I got to meet pretty much the voices of some of my favorite heroes all within a span. And I was a that was 2 years ago. So that would be a 37-year-old puddle of kitty nostalgia. So we'll have to share the photo. You got I have the biggest cheesy grin on my face when I get my photo made with the Turtles. Like Rob Paulson, Townsend Coleman, Barry Gordy, and hold on, Leo. I always forget his name. Cam Clark.
Well, Atlanta Comic Con, Brock and I went the first year they started that because that was the year they brought Matthew Lewis, Mr. Neville Longbottom, as a guest that year, and that was Brock's daughter has moved on a little bit. She still loves the love for Harry Potter, but she really loved Harry Potter then, and so that was the first year of Atlanta Comic Con, and my
son got to meet the voice of Mario.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And it was a really great con. We were impressed with how they handled things. That was also
Paige O'Hara there, the Belle from Beauty and the Beast, and also Linda Larkin, Jasmine from Aladdin.
Wow. That was when I met Leah Thompson, and I finally
Sean Astin.
Sean Astin was the first time I met Sean Astin, and had photos made with them. So it was a great con that year, and we were really impressed with them, and that's why we were so disappointed coming up on that next year that they were having all those cons were taking place in the same weekend we were going to be Fanboy because but like Brock said,
y'all got to space these out.
Well, see, that goes back to what I was talking about earlier. Even just with Alabama in general, we had conventions, but not that many. Now we have the first world problem of there's too many conventions this weekend. I can't go to all of them.
Well, and the bad thing there is that we've seen in the past where you'd have really good conventions, like for example, we would have ones here in Birmingham, then you would have one that was in one of the smaller cities off to the the east or the west or whatever from Birmingham, and they would just kind of divide up the fan base because you'd have people that were committed to go here because they said they would set up a table or do something, and then they kind of would pull from each other. So that always happens with conventions, but it's actually kind of coming around to that. That's not a bad problem to have. Really. I mean, it's good to know that we have so many conventions that they fight over attendees.
That's awesome in a way, though. But the one thing is, say there's a certain day I can only go. Say I can only go to that convention Saturday, which is cool. But then that guest that I want to see is only going to be there Sunday because they're doing the other convention that weekend. So it's kind of, it's a good problem, but you know what I mean. I'm going to I'm a personal nitpick there, but that's me. But I'm happy there's those options there.
And it's been really hard as with everybody. No matter just normal life with people over this past year of the pandemic, but as a lot of personal losses, things of that nature. But from a costuming and convention loving geek, for us, not having those cons, it's just been devastating for our social needs.
Yeah. I mean, when we first got together, when I first met Brock, and when I met Bo, the whole thing was around we all like Ghostbusters, and we want to costume together in order to make Ghostbusters a more formidable fandom in Alabama. And one of the ways that you do that, one of the primary ways that you get in front of people, is at conventions.
Yeah.
And and the really neat thing was we as a group, Alabama Ghostbusters kind of took several years off. We kind of fell flat, weren't really doing a whole lot of events. And then all of a sudden we get together and we have probably the biggest attendance of any event, any social event that we've had since we started at my little townhouse in Chelsea, where I lived at the time. And we all get together, and then we were all feeling it. We were feeling great. It was like, man, this is about to start happening again. And then bam, here comes Granddaddy COVID.
A month later. Yeah, we all met at Kevin's place, February of 2020.
Mm-hmm.
And because everybody was anticipating, oh my goodness, Ghostbusters Afterlife, the new movie from Jason Reitman, it's coming. We've got to ramp up the fandom. We've got to get busy. We've got to get out there. And COVID said, oh, hi.
Oh, hi. Sorry to rain on your parade.
Afterlife has been pushed back 3 times.
Yes.
Yep.
And so this upcoming November, we're finally, hopefully going to get it. I feel certain we're going to. I mean,
yeah, I think, yeah.
Sony has been very patient with this, and Sony is doing this the right way. A lot of people have been aggravated with these movies getting pushed back and everything else. And, you know, some movies have gone to online streaming platforms that we really wanted to see in theaters.
Mm-hmm.
But Sony's like, no, this is going to be a special one. This is one that needs to be seen in the theaters. We're going to keep holding off, and I applaud them for that. And so we were getting ramped up, like Kevin said. We were going to be out there full force all year promoting it. Several of us were going to go to the premiere. And so we may have gotten together a couple of times during the pandemic, you know, to play the Ghostbusters board game.
Yeah, but not on the
scale.
Yeah, not on the scale like we had been, and it's kind of like touching on the whole the need for the socialization with everyone together, because we were having these get-togethers. We were eating, we were playing board games, we were talking and interacting, and that just being together and having that outlet to hang with each other.
Yeah, that goes back to like when, you know, we're back when we were younger, you know, it was not cool to be a geek. So, you know, we didn't, you know, you may have had one other geeky friend at school with you. Now we're older, and we've all had that shared experience of, you know, where you were different, but now, you know, we're all different together, if that makes sense.
Yes. Oh yeah, that does.
And I know a lot of, you know, y'all have been in the convention world and been immersed in the convention world longer than I had. But for me, going to DragonCon that first year in, 2016, I didn't know what to expect. I just knew that people were going to be dressed up and hanging out. But as I got there and I met people and I talked to people and I got to know people, I came out of 2016 with some amazing friendships with people like Katie Ambrose. So I remember Sunday that year I was there. I just happened to see her at the fan table and she was wearing a Nick and Norman's t-shirt. And I was like, oh, okay, yeah, there's a Walking Dead fan. I just went up to her and the first things I said to her, I just want to tell you I love your shirt. And that blossomed into, I consider one of my closest friends and a good friendship there. And we laugh about it. I said, I'm so glad I was not socially awkward. And I took that opportunity to talk to you because look at where we're at now. Now it gets to the point, I want a costume and I think about costuming, but I'm more excited about DragonCon has become family reunion for me. I 100% agree with that. I understand that. I crave that weekend because there's people I get to see that I only get to see in person once a year. And I won't be surprised if they hold off another year, and I can understand why. It'll be okay. But you realize in this last year, everybody's going through this.
We understand why we're doing things. We can be aggravated that things are not happening, but I get why we're doing it. I mean, you know, yeah.
The good thing with being able to do things over Zoom and Skype and all these things is a lot of us have gotten together virtually and been able to sit down for hours and chat. When DragonCon hit, we all sat there, a ton of us who always get together at DragonCon. We had this massive Zoom chat. New Year's Eve, I think we rang in New Year's.
Yeah,
New Year's
we did.
With everybody on Zoom.
Yeah.
You know, so it's not the same as being able to hug necks and hang out, but at least we've had that option.
But we're going to get back there for sure.
We'll get there.
You know, that's where we are with conventions and looking forward to things that are coming up, and the good people that we love. Will be very happy to see them very soon. We've gone through a lot of introductions for us, and that was the whole point of this first episode of the podcast. And the meat and potatoes of what Bama Geeks is all about is just for us to shoot the breeze on things that we love. And of course, a lot of things as we're all sitting at our homes still during the pandemic and trying to to wait this thing out. There's a lot of things to watch, thankfully. It was kind of dry there for a while, but man, have we kicked up lately. WandaVision wrapped up a couple of weeks ago as of this recording. Falcon and Winter Soldier just had their first episode. So here's big spoiler warning. We're going to discuss these things in our podcasts, and we're going to discuss a little bit now. So you've heard the word spoiler warning, and now I'm just rambling to give you enough time to decide whether or not you want to keep going with this. But here we go. Well, I guess we can talk about WandaVision. And man, as I mentioned earlier, I adore Elizabeth Olsen. I'm sorry. That woman is wonderful as Scarlet Witch, as Wanda. And for the longest time, the only Marvel hot toy figure, the 1/6 scale figure from Sideshow Collectibles, the only one that I had was Scarlet Witch, the very first hot toy figure from. I have Iron Man from Endgame now, and Captain America's coming. But yeah, Wanda's been my Marvel love.
Like everybody, I guess, when this started off, what is WandaVision about? You really didn't know where they were going with this, and even in the first 2 episodes, you're still thinking, okay, what am I watching? Where are we going? I don't fully understand, and a lot of people bailed at that point. I kind of flabbergasted me because I'm like, you're giving up 2 episodes in, and I don't know if it's just because of this self-gratification kind of society we live in now, where a lot of shows will drop an entire season in one sitting, and you can binge watch it, and it's kind of like we've lost the ability to kind of be patient with TV like we used to have to be. We had no choice. Just in a brief summary, I absolutely adored this series. Loved every bit of it, even the parts I didn't understand, because I knew we're getting to some point. Being a love of vintage that I am, the old style setup with the TV shows was just very appealing to me. I loved it. I loved, the old TV shows, the Dick Van Dyke. I was okay with Bewitched, the Brady Bunch, the Partridge Family layout, the 80s, the Full House, the Family Ties, all of this retro that I carry with me as a great love. And to see these things play out was absolutely amazing to me.
I was just disappointed that they didn't cover Roseanne at some point in there.
I always loved Catherine Hahn. She's great. She's great. She was great. And, of course, Parks and Recs was where I really, got to know who she was as an actress. And just the cat. I can't say enough good things about this show. Bringing Darcy back in. I love Darcy. I loved Jimmy Woo, and I'm hoping that this does spin off into something for them. I think the MCU needs that.
Yeah, Jim Halpert was excellent in WandaVision.
Can you believe Randall Park forgot that he was actually on The Office?
He did.
It's like it's one of the most classic cold opens of The Office, and he totally forgot that he was on it.
Wow.
You're Jim. Come on.
I think a lot of people that I work with, what I do, I work just like most everybody. I work an office job. But it's totally online, remote now. And a lot of these folks, we have like a Slack, the app, and then we've got like a movies channel and a TV channel. And then people were talking about TV, and they're like, "Yeah, I started watching WandaVision, and I didn't know what the heck was going on. It was like some old thing." And I was the same way. I got through the first episode, and I was like, "What the heck is this? What are they smoking? What are they doing with this?" I started reading a little bit about it, not spoilery, going, "All right, it's supposed to be getting good." And then by the time that 3rd episode hits, the second episode at the very end of it, you're like, "Wait a minute, something's weird's happening." And then by the 3rd episode, you start feeling, "Wait, is this like the Truman Show? Like, is this kind of what's going on here?" And then, by the end of it, we realize, she's the one doing it. And then, and my girlfriend, she's like, "Yeah, no, I read the comics and stuff. I already know what's going to happen." I'm like, "You shut your mouth. I am completely ignorant on this stuff." That's the same as, we're going to talk a little later on Falcon and Winter Soldier, but the same with Falcon and Winter Soldier. I've watched the first episode, and I'm like, I don't know what's going on. And it's amazing.
Yeah.
I love being blissfully ignorant with this stuff. It's just like all these folks are like, "Yeah, man, I read this comic series back in 1987 when it came out." And I'm like, "That's great, man. Don't tell me anything."
if I kind of know how something's going to play out, I kind of have I have less engagement in it because I'm like, well, why am I watching this? I know what the end result's going to be.
Exactly. And I think they actually did a pretty good job keeping it fresh enough even for people who had read the comics, keeping it fresh enough. Because, like Agatha, she's like, all the memes that came out of it where she was like, oh yeah, and I killed Sparky. And I'm like,
yeah,
oh, you suck.
Yeah, right. Right.
Well, and that the way that this was supposed to work, and granted, I'm going to bring this back up again. I know we're trying to get away from it, but in the pre-COVID, the way that it was supposed to work was we were supposed to have WandaVision, and then right after that, we were supposed to have the Doctor Strange.
Right.
Yeah, Multiverse of Madness. Yep.
Right. So, and that was supposed to be, from what I understand, that last scene, the last post-credit scene was the scene that was taken from Doctor Strange 2. So, like, it wasn't filmed for this. It was actually taken from that movie. It was something that had already been filmed. So, and granted, that's just, it's a rumor. We don't know that for sure.
Yeah.
But the fact that we know that she's going to be some sort of a villain or some sort of an anti-hero or something there, that's absolutely amazing. I love that.
At this point, I think we can all have enough faith in Kevin Feige and the folks at Marvel. They know what they're doing. They have proven time and time again that they know what they're doing with this, and they've come out with some good storytelling, in my opinion.
I agree.
Yeah, between him and John Favreau, I think we're good to go.
Yeah.
John Favreau says, I got Star Wars. You handle Marvel, and we got this, bro.
The crazy thing with WandaVision, even though there are comic movies, especially now in post Endgame and all that stuff, where the stage, is always, the earlier part of Marvel was always Earth here, stuff going on here. And then they started branching out with like Captain Marvel stuff, kind of getting more into the grandiose big universe of things. And now WandaVision's now they kind of tiptoed in it with Doctor Strange. I think WandaVision now is going to be where they're going to probably get all kinds of crazy with the supernatural and this Wanda. They said, hey, we're about to do some crazy stuff. So if you thought you've seen it all, now you're going to see more the more unlimited possibilities. And I think it's one of the neat things they're kicking off with it.
And they've been seeding this for a while. They've been seeding it for a while because like in Doctor Strange, and I don't know how many people noticed this. I had to actually go back and watch it. But in Doctor Strange, in the scene where they brought him in and you see the whole wall full of books.
Yeah.
Well, the book that Agatha has, it's actually missing on the wall.
Oh, wow.
There's actually a book missing, and it's that book that she has, because if you look at the style of it, the way it's set up, it's got a name, and I forget about it. I'm so sorry. I am not a hardcore fan. But it's a particular book, and it's like the Book of the Damned or whatever. Yeah. And that's what she's learning out of. But it was missing off of the bookshelf in there.
Yeah.
So like Marvel, they've been seeding this for a long, long time. And I think that probably the biggest thing that they didn't know how they were going to do, that we're hopefully going to get some introduction in, is how are they going to introduce the X-Men?
I'm gonna save that discussion for another time because I have a good theory for that.
Yeah. We'll table that one. But man, they got close.
We can't cover everything in the first episode. We got to have some talk about.
Yeah.
Stay tuned, everybody.
Yeah, but of course, this past week that we're recording this, the first episode of Falcon and Winter Soldier came out. Like I said, we're going to venture kind of into spoiler territory, and this is the only thing I'm going to say on the Falcon and the Winter Soldier's first episode. While it was awesome, why did the guy who show up at the end, was that a young Carl from Up? That was the first.
You're talking about Discount Captain America?
You got it.
That's he's Kmart Captain America.
Oh my gosh.
It doesn't bother. I haven't watched it yet, but that's okay because I enjoy the journey just as much as the destination. But that's okay. That's okay.
I sat through the Snyder cut this weekend for this prep, man. Come on.
Man, the character's name, and granted, I haven't read the comics, but the character's name is U.S. Agent.
Yeah.
I keep being seen where fans are going, guys, there is a whole massive storyline that's about to take place as part of this. Just buckle up because it's going to be WandaVision level amazing. I'm like, okay, that is a high bar you're saying. Okay. Because WandaVision was like spectacular.
But I didn't have any teeth.
Yeah.
But I am enjoying.
He was a gummy Captain America.
Kmart Captain America.
Great value, Captain USA.
He didn't have his dentures in.
But
oh my God.
I'm enjoying jumping on the bandwagon right now of Not My Cap, just for the pure humor of it. I'm not, I am not like, I guess I'll say I'm not butthurt about the whole thing. I think it's hilarious. I'm finding the humor.
This falls into territory like with us with the wrestling. He's basically the fake Captain America to the fake Razor Ramon and Diesel.
Oh yeah,
nice. Yes, so much. Yes,
the under fake.
But let me ask you guys a question, and I don't know whether this crossed through your mind with all this happening. At the end of Endgame, we have him all. We got old Steve Rogers there. He was old. He's not dead. Where is he at? Why does he come forward and go
enjoying retirement?
I'm retired, but what the heck are you guys doing?
He said, "No, I don't think I will."
Well, the hilarious thing is, from what I've read what I've heard about the comics is that Kmart Captain America comes in and he does his thing and he messes stuff up, and then at some point Captain America comes in and he beats him and takes his crown back or his shield back or whatever. Mm-hmm. And I'm like, are we going to get to see this guy who apparently has no bottom dentures that looks like Brock was saying, the guy from Up? He's going to get his butt kicked by like 100 and however many year old man. Absolutely. He's going to get his butt kicked. So Steve Rogers is going to come out there with his walker and beat the crap out of this guy.
Hey. Look.
And by the way, I was very thankful that I was not the only one who noticed that he looked like Carl from Up. Because we were sitting on the couch watching it, and he showed up on screen, and I looked at Jess. I'm like, "This Carl from Up. What is this guy?" And then we immediately started looking online, and people were posting pictures of Carl from Up with the Captain America helmet on, and I'm like, "See, funny. I'm not the only one who thought that."
So let me ask you guys. And this is me again, blissfully ignorant. You guys that are listening to this can comment all you want, but the guy when they had all the pedestrians that were out there, that they had them all put on the masks, and then you had the one guy that was super powered and they could punch people into the walls, and then he kicked that one guy, crushed in part of his skull. Mm-hmm. Is that Discount Captain America? Is that the same guy? I think that's the same guy.
I don't know.
Because he has Captain America powers. What if that's the same dude? What if it's like he's like I'm a bad guy, but I'm also this is I am corporate America, not Mr. Ideological America. You know what I mean?
I had read that they were going to reintroduce the super serum that made Steve into Captain America at some point. So maybe that's it.
Well, I mean, I would have thought that at the very least they would have given it to Discount Captain America, right?
Which I found out
they gave him the shield.
Wasn't that kind of messed up? Because he's like, all right, well, I really don't feel like I can do this, hold the mantle of the shield, so that we're going to just go put it in a museum. And granted,
it's so early, to tell, of course, where this is going, and that's a good thing. We're going to see it play out week by week.
Maybe that's why they did that with WandaVision, so they'd be like, hey,
hey, I actually like it because it gives us something to look forward to seeing every week. Yep. When me and Brock, were so excited about Cobra Kai, and we binged the whole season in one day, and then we're like, it's over. And, so now what do we watch? But
why did we not get 2 episodes to start off with? Yeah. Why did we not get, like with WandaVision, we got 2 episodes. Why did they start us with just 1 on this one? Did they say anything about that?
From what I'm understanding, though, I think the also thing you think about, they did the TV show format for WandaVision, so they give you a general idea of more of what's going on versus where, from what I've read, Winter Soldier and Falcon, it's more in the style of like a movie cinematic presentation. So that might be,
that makes sense.
Quirky TV episode.
Yeah, Falcon and Winter Soldier is only going to be 6 episodes.
6 parts.
Yeah. They're not long.
They got a lot to cover, from what I understand. Then,
well, the episode was longer than the WandaVision episodes. I think it was closer to an hour.
Yeah, it was. I'm looking forward to seeing where this is headed and where this is going. I love the 2 characters of Falcon and Winter Soldier. I've always been a huge fan of Bucky Barnes and the Winter Soldier and that character that's been created. And the two of them, from the time that they were brought together in Civil War and their interaction with each other and the bromance for Steve in a way.
Jessica, what did you think about the fact that we got more character development for Bucky Barnes in that one scene in the first episode of this show where he was sitting down in front of a shrink? We got more character development for that character in that one section than we've had for the entire MCU. I
appreciated that more than anything else. Yes.
Well, his like how he's been in the movies. You've had that mystique of he's, I guess, kind of he's kind of what he went through to be where he's at now. He was damaged, then brainwashed. Maybe that's why that's so fulfilling. Then.
Yeah, and it is just to kind of get to know. This just the getting to know. It's the character. It's more character developed into this arc that, and I hope that. That it continues to expand for him, because I think he's a great character. I've always loved that character from the first, from the get-go, from the first Captain America movie onward. So
I mean, it always made sense to me. And granted, I know that his position in the MCU with the U.S. government is that he's going to be pardoned because technically he was a criminal. But it always made sense to me that he would be the next Captain America.
Right.
Because, you think about it, even mechanically, the dude's got the arm. He could have the shield in the other hand. And, he's freaking invincible at that point, just about it. So,
yeah.
And he's from the same time as Steve. And granted, if anything, he's probably had more overall broken but healed character development than Steve has. Whereas Steve is kind of like Marvel's version of Superman, the Boy Scout. He's a different character altogether. So it would be an interesting development seeing him hold the shield. You know what I mean?
I agree. And to see that you're going to see what is going on with both of these characters after the events of everything that they've been a part of and they've taken place. Just like, forgive me, I know, Bo, you hadn't seen it, but it's Sam coming back home and to deal with all that his family's had to go through from the things that he's been off, fighting, taking care of. And the comment was made with Brock while watching this, but it was like, he's like, he was part of Tony Stark. Surely Tony Stark, there's some kind of financial benefit to being tied to all this. And then in the episode, Sam kind of touches on that. So again, sorry, Bo, for any spoilers.
No, I got that.
And the fact that they went to the bank, trying to get like a loan. And granted, again, Bo, apologies for the spoilers. Stop. But they go to the bank and they're trying to get a loan to keep their business, their family business afloat. And the guy is like he figures out who he is. And he's just trying to get his picture. And he's like, but you really don't have any recorded income for the past 5 years. And he's like, that's because I didn't exist for 5 years. And he's like, well, we your finances are all over the place and we just can't finance you guys. And it was kind of like it was a certainty. So there was a whole hint of things are not quite as they should be. And this whole thing is going to introduce a faction of people who they mentioned in the episode are more happy with the way things were during the blip than after or before.
Yeah. Well, so that's what they kind of go back to WandaVision. They kind of covered that with Monica Rambeau's character. Yeah. She was someone who got, she got snapped and then returned and then, lost her mother and all that stuff. That's the neat thing. Like that's one of the things I hope they do with these series, kind of cover, the 5 years worth, the world existing and all that.
Mm-hmm.
So it's very interesting what they're going to do with that. That's a cool thing. They have that sandbox to play with.
Right.
Let's switch over from Marvel and talk about DC a little bit. Let's talk about DC a little. Look, guys, we can actually be proud to talk about DC. I've got a lot of friends who are DC fans, but after, and granted, I don't know what everyone's opinion is, but after seeing Justice League in the theaters and then what was done to it to take it away from what's Zack Snyder had done, now we finally get to see Justice League the way that Zack Snyder intended it to be. Not with the involvement of the other director that made creative changes, a lot of them.
His version of Justice League to me was so unimpressive. I have not watched it since it was in the theater. Yep. So my memory of everything that he did is almost non-existent. I remember some scenes, but that was one I actually tried to forget. And
you remember hating it?
I remember being unimpressed. I won't say hating
I didn't hate it. I just
I was unimpressed.
Yeah.
Well, I will say I hated it. I absolutely hated it.
Yeah.
Well, there's no problem. There's no anybody can hate it. That's I completely understand.
Zack Snyder, with the unfortunate death of his daughter and all that was a really rough patch for him. And I'm thrilled that Warner Brothers and HBO Max, they gave him the chance to come back. I didn't know he had shot that much footage. I'll be honest with you. I had no idea that much footage had been shot. And it did not feel like 4 hours to me.
Nope.
We watched it, 2 hours on Friday night and 2 hours on Saturday night. It still did not feel like 4 hours. I felt like, you know what? This could keep going for just a little bit longer and I'd be happy with it. The fact that they gave him the ability to go back and gave him the money. Here's the movie that you wanted to do. Go do it. Hopefully some time has passed and you've been able to, you never move past anything like the death of a child ever. But being able to get some time to heal a little bit.
Yeah.
And then give him the money to go and finish this cut. And man, I tell you, I've been wishy-washy on Zack Snyder for years. I've liked some of his stuff. I've not liked some of his stuff.
I'm the same.
So I was interested to see where he was going to take his Snyder cut. And give me that 4 hours and more. Really.
Oh, yeah.
I can't say enough good things about it. Is it a perfect movie? No. But
it's good.
Man, was it so much better.
Yeah, because you get invested in the characters. You get invested in the scenes. It's just got more. I walked away and I felt like I wanted more. Like I want to see more Darkseid. I want to see what happens. I want this trilogy now. I want it. And before, when I walked out of the theatrical version, I was like, what the heck did I just see? This was garbage. Yeah. And then with this right here, I'm like, all right, it's kind of like I feel like I'm watching Star Wars. I want to see the rest of the trilogy.
Yeah. I hope it's possible.
It could be possible. See, that's what I tell everybody. Even though they technically moved on from his DCEU, there's a great line in the movie which could open up that possibility. But Steppenwolf talks about how Darkseid wants to conquer the multiverse.
Yep.
Right.
Therefore, you could have multiple Batman movies and stuff like that going on at one time. So that's like, hey, maybe we'll see where this goes. Maybe you never know.
That one line, I had the same thought. That one line sets up the new Flashpoint movie that's coming.
Yes.
That just like, okay, they can continue this version of Justice League.
Yeah.
If they choose to. We all know Michael Keaton's coming back as Batman for this Flashpoint movie, which I couldn't be happier with that.
Oh, yeah.
But there's so many possibilities to open this now.
Even over 30 years later, I still want to get nuts. Come on.
You want to get nuts? Come on. Let's get nuts.
I hope, and this is on my own personal hope, is with the idea of the multiverses and the things they've done with the CW shows, the DC on TV, which has been far better than the DC movies. I want to see Ezra Miller and I want to see Grant Gustin together.
Yes.
I would love to see Stephen Amell somehow show up as Green Arrow.
Oh, man.
I would love to see all that come together. And, we'll see.
I mean, honestly, if it hadn't been for CW and what they did to reignite people's interest in it, that was both a good and a bad thing. The good thing was they reignited our interest in DC. A lot of people are still diehard fans. But, when we got the theatrical version of the movie, no one was willing to give, at least me mentally, I wasn't willing to give the new Flash a chance in the movie. Because number one,
he's so good.
He is in the Snyder Cut. He is the most relatable character, and he makes so much sense once you give him a chance. But in the theatrical version, it was like he was just weird.
Yeah,
and that was it.
He was a weird fanboy.
Yeah, he was just weird, and he wasn't relatable at all.
Right.
But then once we got a little bit of the awkwardness, we could kind of feel like him, like he's me.
Flash and Cyborg was the biggest beneficiaries of this movie.
No doubt about it.
Especially
Cyborg, like his story was great. Like it was really good. Yes, I'm sorry.
Yeah. We're kind of all geeky. It's still really fresh, just like Falcon and Winter Soldier. This is still really fresh because I think all of us have just seen it.
Yeah, I got up Saturday morning and watched it. It started at 8:30 a.m. and finished up a little bit after lunchtime. So I did it all in one sitting.
I don't know about you guys, but the thing that I really missed more than anything was every time they would do a shot of them together, I'm like, this would be absolutely perfect if we had Green Lantern.
Yeah. Yes,
because Green Lantern would just be beautiful. It would just pull it all together because we'd have all the powers we needed. But even then, that iconic scene that just keeps going all over TikTok and all over the internet of Steppenwolf's about to go throw my hammer or throw my axe up, and I'm about to just totally kill Cyborg. And it, totally different than the way it was in the theatrical version. Because if I remember right, in the theatrical version, he actually did hit him and knocked him over. But in this one, it's like Superman just comes in and just hits him, and he's like,
not impressed.
Not impressed. Oh man.
It's like, wow.
Me and Brock are both big Batman guys. Yeah. And I'm always going to pick on Superman for being the Boy Scout, but I'm going to tell you, in a movie moment right there, you're like, you know what? That's freaking Superman right there.
Yeah. I am far from the biggest Superman fan. I could tolerate him. I'm not a fan of Superman, but in the Snyder cut, all day.
Oh yeah,
Henry Cavill is a wonderful Superman.
Hey guys, I don't want to spoil it too much, but Jessica literally wrote notes. She has notes. She has a notebook full of notes that she's going to share with us.
She's the organized one of us all.
because
I hope everybody is enjoying the supersized episode premiere.
Oh man,
we're gonna have to break this up, and this is going to be the Alabama podcast Snyder cut here.
It's the Parker
Bama
cut.
Geeks, the Snyder cut. Yeah.
Okay, I won't try to touch on this long because we're generally under all of the four of us. There's a lot of stuff that I wrote down, my observations and my feelings watching this. I did this because there's a lot to take in. I knew going into this, I didn't want to miss a thought on something, and it's the same for me. The Whedon Justice League was a one and done for me, and I'll never watch that again. That was my feelings. I will take a 4-hour Snyder cut over a Josh Whedon Justice League any day. The time never was a factor for me.
I will interject and say the only time that I felt that, and it seems like everyone is feeling like that the 4 hours is justified. The only time that I felt that was in the post-apocalyptic scene where Batman was having his exchange with the Joker. At that point, I was like, shut up and keep going. And it's probably because I don't like Jared Leto's Joker, but it was like...
Hold on. I don't interject on you, Jessica, but hold on. Also, the Joker was also a big beneficiary of that movie.
Yeah,
I'm going to tell you that took me from completely despising Leto's Joker to like, ooh.
But my question off the bat. My question off the bat was, where was this one in Suicide Squad? Where was he?
Yep.
Yes, we needed that. And did you notice that like his tattoos and stuff, like a lot of the tattoos and stuff, they were gone. What?
So touching on the whole 4-hour time frame, and I feel like it wasn't a factor for me because I was interested in the story. It kept me engaged. Of course, giving us the backstory for the Flash and the Cyborg, it made you care about them as characters. The lack of substance in the Whedon cut for them just made it feel like they were filler. And also, when we were watching it, I made the comment to Brock, look, after Wonder Woman 84, I needed to see this Wonder Woman again. I needed to see
my gosh,
Gal Gadot playing Wonder Woman like this again. Wonder Woman 84 is another one and done for me. I will not watch that again.
Well, 2 and done because the kids wanted to see it.
Yeah. Well, you had to.
We had to suffer through it again.
Suffer for the children.
That's
but
right.
I would say, like the battle on Themyscira, like the Amazonians in general, that battle on Themyscira when Steppenwolf comes to take the box is like one of the cool. Like, basically, it was like Zack Snyder was like, "Hey, let's give the ladies their own version of 300." And that's exactly what happened, and it was awesome.
Well, and in the theatrical version, they did that, but it was like it was like the 1 minute version. It was like
he just like
compressed.
I'll take this, and then thump gone.
And then so we got this feeling in the theatrical version that they were just like pushovers. that it was so easy to get the box from them. But in this one, we're like, oh no, it was a huge freaking deal.
Yeah,
those ladies, oh my goodness, the fighting that they put forth in this was amazing. I love Gal as Wonder Woman. I think she, for this time period that we're in, this generation, she is the best representation of this character. You know, Linda Carter is the OG. She is the original. Mm-hmm. But if they had to pass the baton to someone, I'm glad it's been her. Mm-hmm. So I love the first Wonder Woman movie. I would watch that again. Wonder Woman 84. Probably will not touch it now that we've seen it and the kids have seen it. We're done. The Snyder Justice League and the first Wonder Woman, they're rewatchable to me because they have the depth, they have the heart, is how I feel about it.
The big call there is depth. That is the theatrical version was so shallow. It was like watching the movie through another medium. It was almost like you were just seeing a preview in a way, because you knew that there was more to it. I remember watching the theatrical version and coming away going, there is no telling how much they cut out of that, because there was so much more to it that they could have explored. And then we get the Snyder cut. And even though I feel like there were some parts in it that could have probably been sewn up a little bit, when I got done with it, I was like, okay, all of it makes sense. I know why he put us through making sure that we saw all the slow-mo scenes so that we could feel what his editorial influence.
I think also the slow-mo scenes helps because the movie was heavily CGI. And I think slower CGI looks better than a fast-paced stuff. But sorry, I mean,
I saw somebody make the comment that lens flares is to J.J. Abrams as slow-mo is to Zack Snyder.
But he's one of those very like, he wants to paint the picture director. Like he's very good one shots.
Yeah, I mean, go back and look at 300.
There's a visual. Yeah, the visual.
You go look at 300 where you've got all the arrows coming out, and then you got where he kicks the guy into the pit, and it's like all slow-mo, and you get close to the guy's face, and that's Zack Snyder. That's just how he is.
Yeah.
But also, one thing I like though, they had a lot more fun, but it wasn't like shoved in there fun. Like I got to talk about my favorite joke in the movie, or the favorort thing is where they're down in I think it's the Bat Cave where Alfred is working on the new gauntlets for Batman, and they're the energy absorbing dispersal, and I love it when Diana looks at him and goes, "Oh, you figured out that technology," and then she goes, "Oh, while you're at it, why don't you make him a lasso?" In black, of course, and that joke so freaking hard. But I guess that kind of
that was funny.
Well, you see, anytime you see DC getting lighthearted like that, I think there's a part of us. DC is doing everything they can to make their own way and not be like Marvel. They don't want to fall into that trap of being like trying to rehash and be like Marvel. So it's like anytime we get a lighthearted joke like that, it tugs at you, makes you feel like, okay, they're going to start getting a little more lighthearted. But then Zack Snyder pulls you back into, no. We're serious. This is serious comics.
So my biggest thing was one thing also they fixed. They took out to me, which was one of the more cringy lines that I did not like, was when after Superman is resurrected, he's looking at Batman and he does that, "You won't let me live, you won't let me die." I don't know why that never settled. That never settled with me. So like as soon as that sequence was over, I was like, "Oh my God, they got rid of it. Thank you so very much."
That was one of those ones where I was like, I don't feel like Zack Snyder did that. It didn't feel right. It didn't feel like it was him.
Yeah. I did see another little side note here that says, so maybe no Green Lantern, but at least we have Martian Manhunter.
Yep.
Exactly. Wow.
Dude, they dropped him hard.
When Lois is talking to Suit's mom, I was like, that was one of the moments I was like, okay, I don't want to sit here and watch all this dialogue because it's already been long by that point. But then she steps out in the hallway and turns into Martian Manhunter, and I'm like,
surprise!
What? Huh?
Yeah.
Well, I know you said that was kind of hard. That's kind of like one of the, like, I guess that's me getting older, the more parroting type thing. Like I like that. That was a very heartfelt scene. Like she was it was hard. Get back to the land of the living. I was like, what? That's a good kind of thing. Yeah.
It was heartfelt, but after watching for that length of time, that was the one moment I went, okay, let's go. I'll gratefully admit, like that was kind of when that gave me a little misty eyed, and then I don't know why. I guess, like I said, being a dad too is the whole scene with Barry and his dad, don't let me be a drag on your life. Just don't worry about, and that's a father's point of view or any parent's point of view. They want their best for their children.
And I don't know
Barry
why, but
was
like I
the
said,
best of the best.
oh man.
And that scene, Bo, they actually, I think in the movie, they actually managed to pull that scene off better than they did in the CW show.
Yeah.
I'll go along with
hands
that.
down. Yeah.
And I mean, the original was still the CW version was great in itself, but yeah,
Yes,
just
it
something about that was very heartfelt, and you felt the emotion. Like that's the other thing.
It's the stuff you didn't
like
get
I
a
said,
chance
it was-
to feel in the theatrical version. You just didn't feel it because he never spent enough time on it. It's like that whole movie was being driven by Whedon listening to studio executives, and that's all it was.
And also going on the Flash, I love is like the one thing I used to love from the Justice League comic was always, Barry was always trying to flirt with Diana, always try to get her attention. That came to my favorite, another great joke I like was like, what if she likes older guys? And Cyborg's like, well, she's 5,000 years old.
Oh,
Every
man.
guy's a younger guy.
That-
I mean,
It was a great line.
Barry's father really gave me John Wesley Shipp vibes.
yeah, that's I can't think
really
of his
did.
name. I know he was a Night Owl in Watchmen. I can't think of the actor's name, but
I can't either, but I kept looking at him going, it feels like, you know, Golden Age Flash from CW almost.
Yeah, very much so. I think it's unanimous. We're all big fans of the Snyder Cut. Like thumbs up.
Yeah. I didn't think I would be. I really didn't think I would be. And I walked away from it going, heck yeah.
It surprised me in two ways. It was very impressive, and that's the first time I've watched a movie in 4:3 format in a very, very long time.
Dude,
that was hilarious.
Dude, with that format and with the slow-mo at the beginning, that's what made it was like, but then all of a sudden you forget that it's in that format.
Yeah.
You quickly forget that it's in that format.
Did you guys see the not just, they kind of tell you the explanation, but did you see like the way that it would have had to have been cut?
Yeah.
Because it would have had he just 16:9'd it would have cut off faces, it would have cut off legs, it would have been bad. So I mean, I understand why he had to go to 4:3, and a lot of people online are thinking, well, it was just Zack Snyder being a diva, and I'm like, no, it's because IMAX is freaking massive, and he shot everything in IMAX.
Yeah,
that would have been awesome to see in IMAX.
Oh my god!
Yeah, I think
maybe we'll get the chance.
Maybe we will get the chance.
Maybe I would love to see that in IMAX.
Could you imagine the concession sales? Oh my god!
I will happily sit through 4 hours of that again. I would.
Can you imagine the concession sales and the pee breaks?
Yes.
Oh my god! Hey. Do you think that they would do the intermissions like how they did the chapter 7, chapter 8? Either they would stop in the middle and give people a pee break.
I would say at least the middle. Do a 2 hour. I wouldn't.
Like this harkens back to say a big musical like My Fair Lady when that came out in the theater with Audrey Hepburn. There's an intermission right in the middle.
All right.
This is totally on a weird subject of long movies, but do you guys remember Braveheart?
Yep. Oh yeah.
You remember when Braveheart came out? It was 3 hours and 2 minutes.
Yep. That was long back then.
And then I remember because I worked at Walmart at the time, and I remember when it came out in 2 VHS tapes. It was like the thing together, and 2 VHS tapes,
like Titanic.
And I will never forget that. Go in there and just. I was like, is this the way movies are going to be now? Are movies going to be this long? And then we have the Snyder Cut, which is 4 hours. It's like, my gosh, man. I mean, they would definitely, I think going back to it, I think they would definitely have to, at the very least, in the middle, stop and give people a bathroom break.
Yeah, 3 hours in the theater is really nothing now. But movies like this, if a director is given the opportunity to piece together a good film like this, I'm all for bringing even a little bit longer movies like this back into the theaters when things get back to normal. I will see a 4 hour movie.
Well, I think it's got to happen because, like what we're talking about with Ghostbusters, some things are meant to be experienced in a mass gathering setting like that.
Yep. Exactly. And hey, theaters are come a long way than what they used to be. You got theaters with reclining seats now, and there's a comfortable way to see a movie these days when all that hopefully gets opened back up.
Well, reclining seats will never still won't stop all that Coke from making me have to go to the bathroom often.
That was like, the whole call before Endgame. We are not drinking before this. We are going to have that bladder control.
When we took the kids to see Endgame, I looked at my son, who is famously getting up and down when we go to the movies. I looked at him. I'm like, you go now and don't even think about getting back up. Why? Because you're going to miss stuff.
Yeah.
And he held it. I was proud of him. He held it.
Wow.
Well, we really thank you for joining us for this premiere episode of the Bama Geeks podcast. Yes, it was a supersized episode. Probably won't be this long in the future, but like I said at the beginning, we are 4 friends who love to get together and talk about all this stuff. So if you got to take an intermission like the Snyder Cut, just hit pause on your phone or whatever listening device you're on. And I want to give everybody a chance before we give you the Bama Geek socials. I'd like to give everybody a chance to give out your own social media channels where people can follow you and maybe keep up with you and your interests. So whoever wants to go first, Instagram, Twitter, whatever you got.
I'll make mine quick. It's simple. Pretty much any format of social media entertainment, it is MBTHEGR81. That is like on Twitter, Instagram, Twitch. That's about the fastest way to find me.
Mine, pretty much any way to find me is just look up KegDev, KEGDEV. The only difference is on Twitter, I am Keg Develops because I am a developer. So KEGDEVELEOPS.
I am really on only 2 platforms of social media. Of course, I am on Facebook and I am on Instagram.
As far as Jessica, she is with me on the socials, our cosplaying pages and accounts you can follow at Parks and Rex, PARKSANDWREX. And the reason for that is because, well, last name is Parker, so that's the Parks, and the Rex part is from Mass Effect. There's a character named Rex, and he's one of our favorite characters, so we just decided to go with Parks and Rex. So that's where you can find us on Instagram, Twitter, and Facebook at Parks and Rex. And for me, if you just want to say hi, I'm on Instagram and Twitter as at BrockP, BROCKP. You can follow me there, and I don't talk about just geeky stuff on there. It's whatever, float your boat. But that's where you can find us. As far as Bama Geeks, we would love for you to follow us on Instagram, YouTube, Facebook, Twitter, all 4 of those. You can find us at, well, I don't know about YouTube, but the other 3, Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter, you can find us at Bama Geeks, BAMAGEEKS. And that's where we're going to be posting a lot of stuff. All 4 of us have access to those accounts, and so it's going to be a free-for-all. Whenever whoever wants to post anything can post it, and that's where you can keep up with us. As far as scheduling the podcast, as Bo mentioned earlier, he does have an alternating work schedule. So probably, you may hear us once a month. We're going to attempt to do every other week. Every 2 weeks, we have a really convenient time for us to get together and record these. And like I said earlier, we'll also eventually get a video version of this where you can see all of us. Jessica and I just have to get our space set up to where it'll be more appealing from our end. Because right now, all you see is the kitchen.
Woo! Where we cook a lot of great meals.
She does. She's a fantastic cook. She cooks just like my mom did. But guys, any closing words from you?
Just, hey, thanks to those of you that are tuning in to this first episode. And if it's a little more supersized than we planned for it to be, but it is the introduction episode, and hopefully a lot of good things coming from us here in the future. So we appreciate you hanging with us and look forward to your support of our podcast.
And I will keep it short and sweet and say, may the force be with you all.
And also with you.
I'll see you on the other side, Ray.
Finally, we got one last Ghostbusters reference.
There we go.
But thanks so much for joining us for the first episode of the Bama Geeks podcast, and we will see you again very soon.